Hey class, so I'm going to explain some basics about transferring in this video. This is a PowerPoint that my colleague Leo Cruz created. He subbed for me on a day that I was out of town, and I really liked the visualness of his PowerPoint, so I said I'm going to use it. So I want to start off by sharing that we have a variety of UCs, CSUs, and private and out-of-state universities that you can transfer to. At the UC level, we have 9 undergraduate universities. This is the list of the different UCs that you can go to. What I want you to know about UCs is that UCs are very research oriented and way more sciencey than CSUs are. So the emphasis is on doing research with faculty at UCs. And it's also the foundational basis for the courses that you will be taking. So when you're thinking about where you want to transfer to, besides these programs, or looking for a program that's a good fit for you, I don't want you to focus too much on what we might consider to be big name schools. I would rather you focus on campuses that are a fit based on what you're hoping to learn. So for instance, when I did psychology, the UCs were way too science oriented for my educational goals. I knew I wanted to go into practice, not research. And so for me, I had a stronger preference towards going to a CSU because it's more practical based. UCs are a lot more research oriented. And so it wasn't for me, but it is for other students who are into research. So these are the different UCs that we have in our state. And this is the minimum requirements to apply. So you need at least 60 UC transferable units. You need at least a 2.4 GPA if you are a California resident. If you are a non-California resident, you need a 2.8. There are major prerequisites you have to complete, as well as general education requirements and responses to personal insight questions. We have something called a transfer admission guarantee, and this allows you to get guaranteed admission into one of these campuses listed on the side of the PowerPoint. The schools that do not have a tag are UCLA, UC Berkeley, and UC San Diego. You can only apply to one tag school. The requirements are that you complete at least 30 semester units. You have specific coursework completed at the time of application and transfer, and the application is due September 1st to the 30th of each year for fall admission. And like I said, there's coursework and GPA requirements based on specific UC. And then the application to apply, in addition to submitting your tag, is November 1st to November 30th. And I have the link to the tag matrix on the module for this week. And so the reason why I don't go into it as in detail is because each school has its own requirements. So I would want you to do your individual research if you are interested in tagging to a school. But what I really want you to know is that we have a transfer admission guarantee, and you can do it for one of these UC campuses. That's what I really want you to know for this class. Okay, we also have CSUs. There are 23 CSUs in the state of California. Like I said earlier, CSUs are more practical oriented. They prepare students to apply for jobs after they get a bachelor's, and it's not research oriented. So also I want you to be aware that there are certain majors that are at UCs and certain majors that are more at CSUs. So ones that are not as STEM focused may not be at the UCs. you might have to go to a CSU to attend for a particular major. So when you do your research, you really want to make sure that the schools that you're interested in have the major that you're interested in. And so this is the minimum requirements to be eligible to apply to a CSU. So you need 60 transferable units. You need to complete at least these 4 areas of general education. So oral communication, written communication, critical thinking, quantitative reasoning, and have at least a 2.0 GPA. And then 2.4 for non-California residents. And again, this is only the minimum requirements to apply. Again, a lot of these schools are impacted, meaning that they don't have as many spots open for the amount of applications that they receive. And many programs are competitive. So that means that students are coming in with completing, in addition to their requirements, they have strong GPAs. So this is the minimum that you need to apply, and then on Assist it'll tell you what you need to be a competitive applicant. For private and out-of-state universities, each university has their own requirement, and it's recommended that you meet with a counselor if you are interested in transferring to a private or out-of-state university, just to see what those minimum requirements are. We have something called an associate's degree for transfer. So in the other video, I explained what the requirements are for an associate's degree. The difference between an associate's degree and associate's degree for transfer is that the associate's degree for transfer give you priority admission into a CSU campus. So you will get guaranteed admission into the CSU system. The UCs also take a look at it as well. If you will get some points, it will enhance the UC review for some UCs. And again, it is an associate's degree, however, it has benefits. And you also get a GPA boost for CSU. So if you're at a 3.2, it'll turn it to a 3.3. The requirements for an associate's degree for transfer is completing the major requirements and completing all of the CSU GE or IGETC CSU GE pattern. So I actually want to go through the different general education patterns, and so I want to start off with the CSU general education worksheet. This is good to utilize if you only want to apply for a CSU. And so these are the different areas that you must complete. So you need to complete an oral communications course. You need to complete a written communications course. You need to complete a critical thinking course. You also need to complete one course in physical science, life science, and one of those courses have to come with a lab. You have to complete one math course. You need to complete 3 courses in Area C, one from arts, one from humanities, and one from arts or humanities. So 3 courses total in this area. You also need 3 courses in social and behavioral sciences from at least 2 different disciplines or subjects, and one 3-unit course from Area E, lifelong understanding and self-development. Some students ask me if physical education is required. No, it is not, unless it is required for your major. What you really need to focus on is getting something completed from E1, and it has to be a 3-unit course. That is how you fulfill Area E. CSUs also have a graduation requirement that can be met at CSM. And again, to be as competitive as possible, you really want to complete as much as you can while you're at CSM so that you don't have to complete it when you transfer, and increase your admission into the campus of your choice. So the American History and Institutions requirement requires that you complete a U.S. History, California State and Local Government, and U.S. Constitution. Again, if there is the digit symbol, that means that it meets areas 1 and 2. and if it has the up signal that or symbol that meets areas 2 and 3. So for instance, History 201 will fulfill area 1 and area 2. So you can double count. And Political Science 200 fulfills area 2 and area 3. So this is an area where you can fulfill multiple areas with one course. You can also utilize what you use to complete in the graduation requirement in the general education areas. So you can only use one course in each area, but if there's a course you use to satisfy the CSU graduation requirement, you can also use it to satisfy one of the general education requirements. So for instance, if you're using History 201, you can only use it to fulfill a humanities or social and behavioral sciences. However, once you decide which area you use it for, so let's say I want to use it to fulfill humanities, you can also use that class to fulfill your CSU graduation requirement. The other thing I want you to know is that there are instances when a CSM course is approved for CSU GE, but the same course at Skyline or Kenyatta is not approved for CSU GE. And you want to use ASSIST to confirm course articulation for the college where you're taking this course, okay? So if you're thinking of taking a course here that we offer that's also offered at Kenyatta or Skyline, you want to check in with a counselor. So that means that there are times where a course that we offer at our institution may not count the same or fulfill the same requirement if you take it at another college. So make sure you check in with a counselor. Another thing I want to mention about requirements: all requirements need to be completed during the spring semester before you transfer. So if you're starting in the fall semester, everything needs to be completed by spring. They will not look into what you completed in the summer before you start in the fall. So for admission purposes, everything needs to be completed in the spring, okay? You can continue to fulfill requirements in the summer, but for admission purposes, they will only look at your spring semester. And the CSUs, the application for the CSUs are due by November 30th. And for UCs, it is also November 30th. And I already went through associate degree requirements in the other video. The Exploring Majors and Transfer assignment will give you an opportunity to explore ASSIST. ASSIST is a helpful tool so you know what courses you need to transfer, and it only provides information for CSUs and UCs. And again, the Exploring Majors and Transfer assignment will give you an opportunity to utilize this resource so you can become familiar with it. And then you will also be taking a quiz to show your understanding. Okay, so how do you know what is UC, CSU transferable? Again, there's multiple ways you can do it. You can use the catalog. I like to use Web Schedule. So again, if you take a look at, I'm using Counting 120 as an example again. Under transfer credit, you'll be able to see here that it's CSU and UC transferable, and it also shows what GE area it fulfills for the UCs, or for CSU, which is lifelong understanding and self-development. I also want to go through the IGETC. So the IGETC General Education Worksheet is good to go through or to utilize if you are applying to UCs and or CSUs. I usually use this as a default one if students are unsure if they're going to apply to a UC or CSUs because it counts for both. The main difference between this one and the CSU GE one is that CSUs are the only schools that require the oral communication. And if you are completing an associate's degree for transfer. And then the other difference is that UCs require a language other than English requirement. Most students fulfill this requirement by doing 2 years of high school study in another language other than English, or they can complete one of the following courses that we offer at CSM. I know this is a lot of information. For me, what I want you to know is I just want you to know when you're taking a class, you know why you're taking the class. So, as you're going through the different assignments, you're meeting with a counselor to develop your student ed plan. If you're taking English 100, I want you to know that you're taking it because you are completing your English composition requirement. If you are taking COM 110, you know that you're completing an oral communication requirement. So that's really what I want you to get out of these various assignments, is that you know what you're taking and why you're taking it. And you also know what resources to use to find this information. So that's what I want to preface too, is that this class really emphasizes knowing how to navigate resources. And so I want you to be able to read or know how to read the IGETC worksheet, the CSU GE sheet, requirements that you need for your major, as well as how to utilize Assist. Okay, so it's a lot of information, and if you ever need clarification, again, use your counselor as your resource to provide you that clarification so that you don't feel like you have to make sense of everything on your own. Really utilize your counselor as a resource. And you can also go to me if you have any questions.